Should we do the counting test? Jared, you kick in right when I stop. 1, 2, 3, 4.
5.
Yeah. Okay. All right. This is the
That's pretty
second
bad.
half. It's all right. It's all right.
It'll be fine.
It'll be fine.
Once it sinks, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Fix it in post.
Fine.
Welcome to the Parrotcast, kids. I'm your host, Tomas the Boss Fernandez, living just having a fantastic weekend. Joining me tonight, his left hand finally hurts for a different reason. It's Steve Koski.
Yes! Finally! Finally, an excuse that people will buy.
He's got a new 22 pistol in one pocket and clean urine in his backpack. It's Robert Wyatt.
That's called being prepared, baby.
And every time he makes an arrest, he still yells, "Booyah, bitch." It's Jared Stepp.
I try to throw some teabagging in it as well.
I'm gonna frisk you, but you gotta do me first. That's the law. Anyways, so we've had a great week. Me and Steve actually shot a match. We shot IDPA at Wasatch Shooters Association up there, which had 6 fantastic stages. Like, they were like quality, almost half USPA PSA-ish / IDPA, but they were fantastic stages that gave you options on shooting stuff. And I shot my second match ever in carry optics, and Steve shot his 4th match or whatever area in carry optics, and we had a great time. It was a fun match for sure. And we had go ahead.
There's a lot of drawing, pointing the gun at the target, half-second pause, then shoot.
I didn't have the second. I didn't have any of the problems drawing the gun and shooting. I had a problem running to like the next position and then bringing the gun up and then being like, down, aim the gun down. There it is, and then start shooting it. So
It's that little pinky.
So Jared, just out of curiosity, are we actually supposed to be aiming this gun? I thought we just pointed at the target and we just pulled the trigger twice.
Depends on the target.
you
Not
hang
top
a
match, is that what's coming back to mind?
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah. Although I'm mad about that.
Brown.
Well, the one thing is too, it's like in IDPA, it's just a hair different because the massive amount of penalties that come along with the targets. Me and Steve both shot a swinger. I mean, Steve, I think, shot every scoring area on that swinger as it came by, and then I shot like down 0, down 3, and then it came back because you had to put 3 rounds on it, and I hit down 0, down 3. So I still got to take home. It was like 2 down 0s and then like 2 down 3s right on the same spot, and I was just like, well, at least I tried to aim. But it was a fun match. It was
At
a
least
lot
you're
of fun.
consistent.
Yeah. And we had a bunch of new shooters. What do we have, like 4 or 5 new shooters?
There must have been like 14 people on our squad, and like 6 of them must have been new shooters.
And not only were they new shooters, but they were
That's
new
weird.
shooters carrying very small semi-automatic handguns. And so the
Very
amount
small guns, and like one guy reloaded the ammo for 4 of them, and it worked about 80% of the time.
One of those groups.
they had a bullet, and I pulled out and I looked at the bullet, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to tell you something. You're belling the case way too far. That's why all the lengths are inconsistent. And then they crimped them like they were Coke bottles. Like, it's like you're smashing the damn bullet in. And then I was like, he had like a factory round right next to him, and then I pulled out one of mine, and I'm like, see this? This is like a 378. You see this factory round? You see how it still has that lip? That's like a 378 as well. You should do it like that. And he's like, okay, I just didn't want the bullets to be pushed in. It's like, they're all right. They're okay.
That's kind of the funny thing, Tommy. You know that somebody's done effed up when Tommy's giving them reloading advice.
I have great ammo. I have great ammo now. Listen, ever since, for a lack of a better term, I'll start it off for you guys. The squib incident at 2018 berries. I have taken my reloading to a new game. Like, that was it. That was like me selling my daughter's tuba for me to get high again. That was that point in my life where I said, because, Robert, did I not, immediately after that, you and Kenny Platt, you were talking to me, and I bought a Dillon, right?
Yeah.
I bought a Dillon, okay?
Dude.
Then I got a chronograph, I got a Ed Jackson send me a hundo. Like, the quality of my ammunition has been absolutely fantastic. I know, and it's fantastic. Steve will tell you about it. But I've taken that game up to. I'm no longer. I've at least taken the time before I got the chronograph to at least borrow one or go with somebody to make sure that my ammo is grouping and makes chrono. So yes, I've done it. I've gotten to these, and I'm looking at these guys shooting a Springfield EMP, an XDE, a Taurus 24/7 Millennium G2. What?
SIG 365.
Yeah. So we had.
Oh, they're rolling hard.
Oh yeah, and so it's just like you're just watching. This is what the advice should have been the whole day. Like before we started, if we knew the futures, like look. When your gun malfunctions, don't ride the slide home, causing another malfunction.
Oh.
Please.
We talked about him 3 times. He kept doing it.
Yeah. Well, and then like another guy's doing it is like, and then for the love of God, when it comes out of battery, just hit the back of the slide. Just hit the back of the slide. Because guys would have like malfunctions that put out the magazine. Well, they would try like, they'd ride the slide home, cause another one, kick out the magazine, take it out, put the magazine back in, and didn't do the whole ride home thing again on the small semi-autos, and then it hangs up again. It's just like, it's like, all right, guys, say this. Like Steve told him, it's like sometimes all a good semi-auto needs is a good whack on the back, just whack it on the back. And then I took 2 of them to teach him what a grip and a trigger pull was, and so this guy had like a Taurus 24/7 G2 and like a crossbreed holster, and I was just like, this is how you're gonna draw it. This is how you're gonna hold it. You're gonna prep the trigger. When the trigger gets tight, don't think I'm going to shoot it now. Just think I'm going to keep prepping. And then the gun's going to go off. And then he was like, how much more accurate is your handgun now? And he was like, man, my gun's way more accurate. I was like, that's good. Keep doing that. Keep doing that. It was... for people talking about carrying a very small semi-automatic handguns, it was not like a great experience. Because even the guy that was carrying the P365 was having...
P360.
What was that?
He was an experienced shooter shooting the P365, and he opted to take the long shots on one of those stages, and he had like 6 mics out there,
Yeah,
well, and then like
the P365 is a trash gun.
Everybody likes it. I know. I really have a hard time experiencing this. Like for the love of God, they make the shield. They make the shield. They make the shield plus. They make the shield plus with an optic. Buy that.
The reason the P365 everybody was all gaga over is because it held a lot of rounds. And then everybody went out and bought it, and then everybody's like, yeah, this gun sucks. This gun sucks really, really bad.
It doesn't work.
It's really snappy.
It's really, really snappy, and everybody like tries to justify it, saying, oh, it's not that snappy. It feels okay, man. And then you pick up a decent gun like a Shield or a Hellcat, and you're like, yeah, the P365 sucks. Like most things from SIG.
Well, here's the thing is like, the P365 magazine, it's got this tiny recoil spring, okay? So it just has like enough force to like barely strip off the next round and put it in the chamber and seat it, right? Because it's got this baby slide. And then they're like, let's put more magazine tension on the bottom of that slide than God can do himself. And they're like, it's like putting 32 rounds in a 30-round AR-15 magazine and then putting it in the gun. It's like that top round is like causing that.
Yeah. You have to take and like beat it against the ground to get that magazine to seat completely. It'll go.
I will say that those new Shield Pluses are freaking nice.
Thank you. I agree.
Those are I'm really impressed with.
As far as what do you like about it?
The grip is pretty much the exact same size as the Shield, but they hold, I think, 10 or 13 rounds, Robert? And
they hold,
shoot really softly. They shoot just like a full-size gun. We
10.
had M&P, we had Smith & Wesson out at the UPOA match last year, and they brought a handful of demo of the Shield Pluses, and I got to play with those, and I was like, what the heck? This is freaking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But they're hard to find.
They're hard to find. Well, and now they brought out the optics ready one.
Right.
It's been out for a while. But the Shield originally was already a good shooting gun. And the Shield Plus, it is basically the same exact size. If you hold them up side by side, because I've got both of them, you're hard. I mean, except for the fact that they've done different things, like with the texture, it's got a supposedly
more
better
aggressive texture.
It's got the 2.0 text.
The texture's really, really nice. It's got a different trigger. It's almost like an Apex trigger. I don't like it, but a lot of folks do. I actually was a big fan of just the standard trigger. It worked for my hand size, so I never complained about that. But it's crisp, it's clean, it works really well. It holds a ton of rounds. You can't go wrong with it. Honestly, the biggest complaint about the Shield Plus is unless you have like somebody who really likes you. By the way, thank you, Sean Edmonds. It's impossible to find magazines for them.
Yeah. Well, yeah. All the new baby high capacity ones, the magazines seem to be unobtainable. I know Pro Mag is starting to make some of them, but for the love of God, don't buy the Pro Mag stuff. So anyway, we got done with the match. It was a great match, and then I brought my pistol rest and I brought my chrono, and me and Steve rested the pistols and shot some loads through the chrono, and we just set it up at 12 yards. Both my guns are zeroed for 25 yards, but this Masada that I got working, me, not IWI.
You got to tell them the story.
Oh my God. So anyway, I go out there, I get it back, I go out there and shoot it. 17 angry videos to Robert, Nate, Osborne, and Alex went later. I'm in my garage. I'm just
there definitely were about 17.
We were trying to figure, and I'm like, I put an empty dummy round in the chamber and then drop the slide on it, like on a Glock or anything else that goes in. But on this Masada, it just goes whap to the back. Just the extractor is impacting the back of the case and is not moving. I was like, okay, this thing has no, the extractor has no movement. You can't move whatsoever. So I'm like, all right. I'm taking this damn thing apart. So I take it apart. Inside the extractor spring, it's pretty much like a CZ or a Beretta.
Can I interrupt?
Go ahead.
Let me interrupt and ask a dumb question. Because
Sure.
when you put a magazine in a Glock and you rack it, the rim of the case actually slides up under the extractor.
Correct.
Yes.
Does the Masada do that too?
Yes.
But you were doing it a different way. You're putting around in the chamber and then just slamming.
You just slamming it. So like a
Glock.
Glock.
Which should work because in an emergency you might.
A Glock and a Beretta and a SIG and everything else will still do that. So there's still enough.
There's enough forward momentum of the slide to basically push the extractor out of the way.
Yeah, and there's some give in the extractor, so you can do that if you need to.
Yeah, it's definitely suboptimal. You shouldn't do it because it shortens the life of your extractor claw.
So I'm like, okay, whatever. So I go in there and I pop it out and I pop out the extractor spring pin and I pull it open, and inside the extractor spring is a green like gummy dingus pillar of something inside the extractor spring. I pull that out, I put the gun back together, and then the extractor now can move.
It's like a guide rod for your extractor spring.
Pretty much. It's exactly except for it doesn't give.
Except for it's a useless guide rod.
Except for it's the same length as the spring, so it just serves as a rod instead of an extractor
Yes.
spring.
And so then I pull it apart and I start messing around with it. It seems to work, and then one time it hiccups, and I'm like, what's going on here? And I pull it back apart, and since the Hollow Sun is a little bit different than the RMR, like the RMR has its plates that are basically on the top back of the RMR, it screws, and the Hollow Sun actually dips down lower, and so what happens is the screws that were provided for the RMR, when you put them on the Hollow Sun, the right screw actually goes down and goes right in between by about 2 millimeters into that extractor spring. So I had to go buy a different screw. Nate Osborne had the great thing to go to McMaster Car, and a 440 3/8 long screw, and they only sell them in packs of 50, so I am now have a lifetime set of screws for the right side of my Masada. I ran the long ones on the other side, and put that all together.
You just change them out every single year. That's what you do.
Well, you know, a lot of Glocks have that problem too, where if you have they have the two screws,
yes,
and you have to have a shorter one on the right side, otherwise it'll come down and pinch that extractor and make it so it can't work.
Yeah. And so if you listen to the IWI booklet and you just run an RMR, it's going to run fine. That's why when I sent it off to Masada, I sent it, of course, without the optic. And so when they put it in there and they shot it, they never had any of that problem because the optic wasn't on there. But anyways, we got the optic on.
So you're saying you installed it incorrectly?
I installed it incorrectly, and they had that green dingus thing in there. But they did have to work on the firing pin block a little bit to get it to work. But anyways, we go out there, we shoot some groups. Steve's got the groups.
The most amazing group was at the end of the day, Tom shot 5 shots in probably 3/4 of an inch out of the Masada.
Oh.
So yeah,
it was rested. It was rested, but is unbelievable.
Yeah, so just double that out.
The shadow does that unrested.
Yeah, this is a
I had to do
700.
that. I'm sorry.
This is a seven. It's a $700 setup.
My Glock does that unrested.
So we went out there and we shot it. What's funny is the 4.1-inch barrel of the Masada, since it's actually a polygonal rifle barrel, not like the new Glocks, which are like traditional cut. I actually got better out of the Masada. I got like 3 power factor higher. But we did one thing that was interesting is that Steve brought out his 500 Smith & Magnum, and thank God he did not shoot the chrono, but we did chrono 1 round. So Steve, why don't you? We're gonna play a game where Jared's gonna
Smith and Magnum.
Smith and Wesson 500 Magnum. Smith and Magnum. Smith and Wesson 500 Magnum. So we're gonna play a game. Steve is gonna tell Jared the load data of the Smith and Wesson 500 Magnum, and then Jared's gonna guess the power factor.
Oh Lord.
Steve?
It's 34 grains of H4227 underneath a 440 grain cast bullet, I believe.
440 grain.
You're way off. You're just as far off. 440
grain cast bullet.
Well, if it's a 440 grain, I don't know. I'm gonna guess it's going at least 1,000 feet per second, so 450 hit back there.
1468 feet per second, which is.
Oh Lord Jesus.
645 power factor.
And I was dumb enough to shoot one of these from the rest through the chronograph. I don't mind shooting the gun, and I don't mind shooting these loads, but they're not fun to shoot from a rest where you're locked in behind the gun, and all the gun does, the only place it has to do is whack you in the hand. When you're standing up and your whole body can move and the gun can rise and do all that stuff, it's a lot more fun than when you're sitting on a bench right behind it. And I don't think I can see it anymore, but I had a little bit of color in my left palm this morning.
Oh, jeez.
From shooting that damn gun from the rest. One frickin' round.
Yeah.
We were
That's nuts.
So Steve had some like milder loads, and then he had a couple of those hot ones, and we were shooting rocks on the far back berm, and you would just shoot those rocks and just boom, like it would just break like a damn sledgehammer. That thing is like, that's recoil. Like that's hoofing it. I mean,
in other news, Robert got himself a 22.
Yeah, on the other side of the power scale. But I want to bring up one more thing before we moved on from that, which was we put the hollow sun, and Steve was shooting a plate rack at like 15 yards, and we turned off the dot inside the circle dot of the hollow sun. So at a 6-inch plate at 15 yards, the hollow sun circle is just smaller than a 6-inch plate. So literally, you just put the circle on the plate, and who cares where the actual center of the dot is? It was pretty neat.
Yeah, it's fun. So that bullet from the 500 mag makes major power factor 3.9 times.
That'll do.
It makes minor 5 times.
Oh my gosh.
So in order for that,
but you can only fire it once because your hand is obliterated after.
Well, you can fire more as long as you're not behind a rest. If you just stand up and shoot that gun, you can do okay. But yeah,
Steve,
you
so
can.
if that bullet was going 300 feet per second, it would make minor.
Yeah. And you could watch it.
It'd be a paintball of death.
Paintball. A 440 grain lead paintball.
Oh my god!
Wow.
If you had,
What did you shoot me with?
if you had like a catcher's mitt, you might be able to catch it before it kills you. But yeah, that's freaking crazy.
Made of Kevlar.
Robert, let's talk about your little assassin piece you got going.
My assassin piece. So I, as you may remember, I used to have, it was an LCP 380, and I love the gun. I actually really like the size of it. You could put it in your pocket, and nobody could really tell. The problem was it was chambered in 380,
and somebody wanted to buy it from you.
Yeah,
because they bought a Kel-Tec.
And the 380, as everybody knows, is probably the crappiest round next to the 40 Smith & Wesson. And so I got rid of it. And the thing is, I always missed having that small pocket gun. And I believe it was last year that Ruger came out and said, "Hey, we're going to be making this LCP2, chambered in 380, but we're also going to do it in 22 long rifle. And for me, that was like, I was like, absolutely, if I can find one of those things, I'm going to get it. But that was right when the Pandalarium was all starting off, and people were going and buying all the guns and stuff like that. And so I couldn't really find one. And I sort of forgot about it until a month or so ago. And I was like, man, I really want to find one of those again. And I happened to be over at Smith & Edwards yesterday. And sure enough, they had a LCP2 chambered in 22 long rifle, which is awesome because I get my gun back. It's in a chamber. It's in a caliber that I'm willing to put up with. I'll never reload it. So, and like the reason I always hated 380 was just because it's way too easy to mix up the 9mm and the 380. That's the only thing I dislike about it. I mean, it's fine round. It works really. It does work really well for what it is.
I mean, it works better than 22. I'd rather have 6+1 380s than 10+1 22 long rifles.
The Full Metal Jacket 380 can do you a little bit better.
Statistically speaking, more people you kill people a lot quicker with the 22 long rifle, but that's neither here nor there.
That's not how you use statistics.
I can give them to you. I'll show you the numbers on it.
Here,
Somebody actually
let
put them
him make
together.
up some statistics, and he'll tell you some more, Steve.
I have followed COVID numbers. I know how to make up bullshit statistics.
The
no, but seriously, there's actually somebody actually did go through. This was a number of years ago, but I hung on to it because I thought it was a really interesting article. But they actually went through and they pulled numbers from like shootings and things like that, and they found that the 22 was responsible for a lot more one-stop shots than most other calibers, and it was just one of those just weird, interesting things of life. My theory behind it, honestly, is probably it's such a light recoiling gun or round that it's much easier for people to take that critical headshot kind of thing. I don't know, but the numbers were pretty interesting to see that. That's essentially where you get the whole idea or the data that says that between 9mm 40 and 45, effectively everybody's getting 3 rounds because the 9mm is like 2.8, a 40 is 2.7, and a 45 is like 2.5 or something like that shots to stop a bad guy from doing bad guy things. And since we can't throw fractions of a bullet, everybody's getting 3 rounds, which effectively means that that caliber choice doesn't matter as much as your ability to put rounds onto target, which is it's pretty interesting stuff. You can debate the guy's numbers. He even goes and he says that. He says, feel free to debate the numbers. Here's how I achieve my numbers. If you don't like it, you're more than willing to go and figure out and find statistics that bear out to your position or whatever. But I thought it was a well-reasoned article and how he came up with his formulation, and so
and 22 is right there with it, right?
The 22
as long as you use stingers.
The 22
kind of sounds like Fudlore to me.
Well,
I've been working at a gun shop too long, Robert.
There has been.
Which one's best against? Which handgun should I take to Alaska to stop a grizzly bear?
Right.
The Mossberg Shockwave. So what's funny is if you go on YouTube and check out Chris Baker on Lucky Gunner, they do a bunch of great ballistics gel testing. And he has a bunch of videos on small pocket handguns like 380 and 22. 22s with certain bullets will get you about 9 inches of penetration. 380 will get you more reliable penetration. The only problem with both of those is you have a small handgun, which is pretty hard to shoot, and the reliability of them.
22 long rifle, average number of rounds until incapacitation 1.38.
Well, that's because when they all get shot in the back of the head, Robert, it definitely helps the statistics.
You know what? I'm more than happy. I'll post it up. I'll send you the link. You guys.
It's always
if you want. It's very interesting stuff, and I just thought
the
it was.
Cops are all trending towards 22 long rifle these days.
That's true.
The cops are trending towards anything that can put out a lot of rounds and try and be accurate with one of them.
Well, that's the 22 pocket gun.
Yesterday, I took my son out with me to the range, and he's like, "Dad, are cops stormtroopers?" Why do you ask? Because they can't hit anything. That's what you said, right? I'm like, we had
a cop out yesterday with us shooting his duty. I think he was Ogden, shooting his duty Glock 17 with his RMR on it.
Good for him.
Yeah, he did great. He was shooting well, and he was just like, "Yep, I'm one of the 10% of cops that actually goes out and shoots. Full uniform, duty belt, doing his
Ow.
deal. Yeah, he
And
was.
he goes, wow, you guys are really gun geeks. I should bring my wife down here and let her talk to you guys, and she'll understand that I'm not the biggest gun geek around.
So it was pretty nice. But the 22 as a pocket pistol, as a sheerly defensive pocket pistol, gives you capacity. It gives you something that no one wants to look at. You start pointing at people like no one, they don't know what's 22 and they don't want to look at it. No one's going to still come down the hallway against the damn things. So as long as they run and you can find an ammunition that runs through them,
that's the cool thing about this. So Ruger recommends using basically the high velocity CCIs, obviously CCI, because CCI is just reliable as it is long. But I've got so many different rounds of 22 in the basement. It's not even funny, but I have tons of Federal Value Pack and Thunderbolt, and I'm like, okay, let's just go test this out and see if it works. Yeah, sure enough, both of them run. They run like a champ. Like it was awesome. Basically, what I kind of figured, I mean, if there's something wrong with the bullet, there's something wrong with the bullet. But of all the stuff that I fired, I never had one malfunction with it. Like the entire time. And I came to the realization that I think it's just, you just got to be able to hold that gun and just basically create that wall that it recoils against. But it was so cool because I shot the Thunderbolts and I'm like, okay, this works. I shot the Federals, they worked. Dakota, my 11-year-old and my 10-year-old came out and he shot it and he had a couple malfunctions, but you could see it was, it was just he was just letting the limp wristing kind of absorb the recoil. But towards the end of it, he figured out how to hold it. Yeah. And even he was having great results. I'm tickled pink because it actually does run on basically value pack junk ammo. That's awesome to me.
I still wonders, like, the 22 caliber Glock is a piece of junk. It's like, why haven't they decided to get like a 42 or a 43 in 22 and put that out to people? Well, at least Robert didn't buy a 22 revolver, thank God, unlike some people we know, Nate Osborne, Alex Wendt.
Hey, I like to have a suboptimal caliber and have limited rounds. It is. I do have to say though, it is pretty darn cool that you can get 10 rounds in the magazine in the same basic platform as the standard 380. Steve, I was listening to, it was the 22 Plinkster. He was actually saying that the 22 caliber version of this thing, essentially it was designed to be a trainer for the 380.
Oh, cool.
Which makes sense because the 380 is kind of expensive unless you reload it, and 22 obviously is cheap. But
hold it up again. It's basically the same profile?
Oh yeah, it's I put it and the 380 right next to each other. It's the same gun.
Okay. Are the rounds staggered in the magazine slightly?
That's a good question. I don't think so. There may be a slight staggering, but they're pretty vertical. Think of your Ruger, your Mark IV or whatever.
Yeah, but the magazine on that is like 50% longer.
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing, Steve. It might be staggered. It just doesn't seem like it's staggered all that much if it is. Okay.
Well, the one you can stagger them a little bit on the 22s as long as it's all in how they deal with the rim of the case in the back. Like basically how they separate those from not toppling on top, not stacking directly on top of each other so they don't nose down.
But the trigger's great. I mean, so like the original 380, you would you'd go to reset it and it would be click click to get it. This one, the trigger breaks and it cycles through, and then it's probably about an eighth to a quarter of an inch forward travel, and then it's ready to fire again. The gun does not recoil. It's obviously it's a 22, but it's just nice, flat as can be. And they left the plate racks up at Slipsa, and we went and shot those things, and even the lowly 22 out of a 2.5-inch whatever barrel takes those plates down. So anybody who says that the plates aren't calibrated at Slipsa, they're full of crap.
Well, what's great is like Ruger's winning the pocket gun war. They got the LCR. They got that a 9mm 22, whatever you want to get it. They have all the LCPs. They have the LCP and 380, the LCP Plus, which is 10 rounds of 380. The
I
Max
think it's
9.
the LCP Max, isn't it? LCP
The LCP Max, and then they have the LCP 9 Max or whatever it is that's dot cut in 10 rounds of 9mm. I mean, as far as the small guns go, Ruger's killing it.
I like the the LCR, the revolvers in 22. I think they have 8 rounds in the cylinder, which I think is fine. I guess what I don't understand is that if you're looking for something that's more pocket carry, why you would go with that over a semi-auto. I mean, I get the argument. I do get the argument of, it's a 22. 22 is unreliable and stuff like that. But that one seems kind of dubious at best.
It's all about if your little pocket pistol is reliable. I mean, Steve had a very hard time with his LCP when he first got it from you, and then you sent it in, and then Steve's runs like a freaking.
What did they
top.
do to it, Steve?
They put a new barrel in it. Weird. And like, why does that have anything? Whatever. It works. It didn't work, and now it works.
Well, and I had a friend.
That's what I couldn't figure out. I mean, because like I never had a problem with it. I thought that was the amazing thing about it. It just ran.
I had a supervisor, and after Steve had fixed his, I was like, "Oh yeah, you can just send it to Ruger, and they'll fix it." They replaced every damn thing on that gun. They gave him a new magazine, a new slide, a new barrel, like everything that could change. They basically gave him a work order like this and sent it back to him for free. And then he's like, "Oh wow, my gun's good," because he was showing me videos of his son shooting it, and he goes, "It's a small gun. It should jam every once in a while. It's a semi-auto. He doesn't know what's going on." I'm like, "No, send that to Ruger." And then he sent it back, and he's like, "This gun works even better. It's great." And I was like, "Yeah," because Ruger even said it, was broken garbage at that point. They're like, "Yeah, take it back."
All right, Officer Jared, what's your small gun of choice?
Oh, Jared is
that little. Oh, he lagged out. Goodbye, Officer Jared.
Click. Nice knowing you.
Don't worry. Eventually he'll get back.
Yep. Right on. Well, while he's getting...
No, it's a great little gun. It really is. I am very, very happy I was able to find one. There was a while I kind of kept playing this idea of like maybe I just kind of get a 380 again, but I couldn't stand the idea of having to deal with the cases anymore. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Jared, you back with us? Maybe. Somewhat.
Jared's dying.
Jared's blinking. Talk, Jared. Tell us about your favorite small gun. Do you have a small gun thing? Apparently not.
Jared.
Yeah. Well, while Jared is sorting himself out from the nether realm, basically head on over to dominatedefense.com. Get yourself a fantastic carry / competition belt. It's the best belt out there in the industry. Check out Dominate Defense. Use promo code PARA10. I shot with my carry belt. I didn't even use a Velcro one. I wasn't lazy enough just to put the Velcro one on. I actually used the actual carry belt. Shot IDPA. It was fantastic. Carried it around. Saw James Bond with it. Did everything with it. Even got a haircut today with it. So DominateDefense.com, PARA10. Get that. Check out Precision Holsters, Fast Holsters. It's a great holster. You can check them out. Also use promo code PARA10 and get 10% off that order. And then head on over to galbullets.com. Use the promo code PewPro10 and save 10% off your emails first order.
I guess that's a win, right?
Yeah.
Can I throw the first question out?
Sure.
Yeah. Do.
From Rick Neff, in person, asked Tom and I to discuss on the show, have we had rounds go through the wash in our pockets, and did we fire them, and did they work? Robert?
Yeah. Yeah, I've actually done that.
Hey, Jared's back. We got a clean feed.
Maybe.
Yes, perfect. How many rounds? Okay.
Let me put it this way, and there's a box on the top of our washer and dryer where all the bullets are.
Yeah.
And they fired pretty reliably, right?
No. It's generally it's fine, but it's hit and miss.
I mean, you wouldn't load it up for a carry ammo or for a match.
No, I'll take
They go bang 80 or 90% of the time.
Yeah, I think so. Probably like
that's been my experience.
About half the time they seem to work.
If they don't, I don't know how many times it's happened to me, but it seems to me that most of the time they fire. Not all the time, but
yeah, it's enough that I'll take them out and practice. That's it. That's all they're good for.
Well, I get ammunition through the washer probably about once a week, and then I take it out and I'm like, this is probably bad, and then I have like 4 or 5 little bins around the house that maybe have like 6 or 7 little 9 millimeters in it. They're like little bins you'd put your keys in, and I just got to go around and collect all that ammo, and then just either, because I don't know what's happened to the primer because it's probably been through the wash, and just load up some mags and just put it through the Masada and just see if it all runs. Maybe I'll give you guys a report on what runs and what doesn't. But yeah, it's one of those things that's just fun to do. Take the laundry ammo out and shoot it. Jared, how much ammo has gone through the laundry, and how much of it have you shot? What's your experience?
We actually have a little, those little cups, like the little glass jars where you guys will put people.
Oh no, where people.
Goodbye,
Come on,
Officer
Jared. Tell us what they do. Do they pee in it?
Apparently, when you live out in the middle of BFE, your internet apparently sucks.
Well, don't worry. His recording, everyone listening on the podcast version will have a clear understanding of what he's talking about. We lost you again, Jared.
It's not working. Okay.
So we'll get Jared back here in a second.
Damn,
all right.
That means I have to edit it.
No, well, next question. We'll go from there.
All right.
I'll join the call.
Let's see. From Andy Erickson, how dumb is it to come out with an optic-ready gun and have literally no plates in existence anywhere on the planet to be used with it? I know exactly which gun he's talking about.
I think that's what's called the factory standard. Jared's back. Hooray.
That would be the Beretta M9A4.
Why? This is a very interesting thing. Why they would do this? Why would you be in such a rush to bring out a gun and not have any optic plates for it?
Because you want to take the thunder away from the gun that actually made Beretta and optics viable consideration for a lot of people, which is the LTT Rodeo.
Yeah.
The LTT, and the thing is, the reality is, the Rodeo is still substantially better than the 9A4. It just is. It's cut lower. It's cut noticeably lower to the point that you actually have specialty parts to accommodate it. But it also, so if I remember right, what's her name? Amy Langdon was saying that the LTT is like 0.85 from center of bore to dot on a SRO RMR. Yeah.
And the Beretta's the A4 is high.
It's very high. Yeah, very, very high. And so it's just kind of an odd little duck in this. Now, I'm not bagging on it. I love the 9A3. I think it's a fantastic firearm. But between the LTT and the 9A4, gosh, you're spending more for a LTT, but you're getting, I think, from the standpoint of a gun that just flat out works, and actually you can mount an optic to, because you can't do that with the 9A4.
Who was wasn't Bren 10 come out with their 10mm gun, and like they were shipping them with no magazines and certificates, and like 18 months later they were like shipping people one magazine? It's like, what? This is a marketing failure of epic proportions.
Oh my gosh.
Well, it's very interesting too. It's like they bring out the M9A4. I understand that the LTT RDO is, people are buying that up like crazy. Like, people really like those guns, and
the biggest problem is that
but Beretta supplies him,
shipping them slides.
Yeah, Beretta sends him the guns. So talking about like having your small business, which is putting out some of the best innovative products, the fox is in the hen house, so to speak, with whether or not they want to continue doing that. So, and the RDO is actually a lot more versatile than people think. I mean, Robert was telling me people have been actually finding ways to mount other optics that don't have an arm or footprint to them, and loving it.
Yeah, supposedly the Delta Point Pro, people are actually tapping in the set for that and getting them to work, and they're saying that that's just the best platform you can even put on, even better than the SROs. I've got the Hollow Sun on this, and and I think it's fantastic for what it is. This is now officially my bedside gun. I love the Beretta. I've always liked it. It's kind of got a special place in my heart for that reason. But yeah, I'm sure Beretta will do it good. I'm sure they'll get everything working. I know why. I understand why they did it with the 9A4. They want parts interchangeability and compatibility, so they wanted to make the cut as minimal to the slide as possible, so they wouldn't have to change anything out. And that's what you get with the 9A4.
Yeah.
I think Dave Blanton got himself one. I don't know if he's put out any videos talking about it yet on the Humble Marksman channel, but it's a great gun. Like I said, I love the 9A3. It's probably my most favorite iron-sighted Beretta that's ever come out. It basically checked every single box that you could ever want on it. But with the LTT, the rodeo slide on there, the gun is absolutely amazing. I put the rodeo slide on top of my 9A3, and yeah, it's a great platform.
Yeah, it's a good call. It's very funny that nowadays we're having pistols that are optics ready, but no. It's optics ready. It doesn't come with the plate. Here's a certificate. We'll send you a plate. Oh, you want an optic that everyone else uses? This is about 6 months. And then we'll go to these other guys who make plates for these guns.
Same thing.
Yeah, they did it with the P10. HK's done it with their VP9. And then you have people who are going to go to these other manufacturers buying these plates that are supposedly
may not work. Precision
machinery, machining, and then they get them on and they're not working. They're not holding zero. They're coming undone. They're flat. It's a crap show, and it's like Glock seems to be doing it right. IWI seems to be doing it right, where they're just sending like, here's the plates, here's the whole kit.
Here's every single plate you'll need to run this gun. I mean, right now Glock
just
and apparently
direct
IDPA.
mail everything.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the other answer. Then
well, the downside of that is then you're waiting for, let's see, I sent it to him in March. It's now
October. That. And yeah. Did I what?
Adding up.
What,
I mean,
what coating did I want on it?
Almost. They've now had that slide almost as many months as like primers I have at this point. I mean, it's just getting ridiculous.
But the one thing too is like, and then the gun's not optics ready. So the one thing is like, we have all these companies selling you quote unquote optics ready guns, and there's only like 2 or 3 manufacturers that actually will send you an optics ready firearm, and all the other ones are promissory notes. So.
Yeah,
it's a joke.
From Phil Stratsma. With the fall season and it becoming darker sooner, should night matches become more of a thing? Well, I tell you, Nationals sure seems to be thinking that's the way to go.
Why is that?
The last squad we're shooting, it really was flashlight Nationals. There's videos of people shooting the stage with flashlights because it's gotten dark.
Oh yeah.
Now here's the thing, right? I mean we've all taken videos and stuff. Like we've all shot after the sun's gone down for like 30 minutes. It's still visible, right? I mean, you still can see, but it's like at a certain point, is that kind of like competitive equity at that point?
No, I've seen squads finish up with like 2 or 3 cars there with their headlights on. Talk about messing with your sight picture.
Well, the good thing is that the lights are always in front of the shooter. Oh wait, they're not. Everything's behind the shooter. So like you can like stand in front of the lights and like, oh good, I'm blocking the array I'm trying to shoot. And it's not like, so it's like there's a big difference between shooting at dusk and then the next 15 minutes shooting when it's dark. Because the one thing is like it's not like the sunrise where it brightens up and it gradually brightens. It's like when the sun goes down, it becomes like, and it's down and it's down, and now it's like unusable like light, and it's just mostly unusable, and it's dark, and it's a competitive equity issue.
I say yes. Get your night matches in, but do it soon after the daylight savings time change, because it just gets colder and colder after that. So just have them over the next month.
And then plan your stages really well so that people aren't there till 3 in the morning, because that just starts to suck.
Yeah.
I think UDPL had that happen one year, and it wasn't anybody's fault. It just was what it was.
Well, for a while we were doing our night matches like in June. Well, the sun doesn't go down till 9:15, 9:30.
It's like 9:45, and we're like, All right, let's
You
go.
gotta
So
start your night match at 10:30.
you're already ass tired by the time the damn thing starts. And then here's an idea. Let's have a night match, and then let's have complex activators. We have 7 reshoots. Oh, why do you have 7 reshoots? Well, it doesn't work that well, and then Tina tripped over the fucking cord. And what do? You know? But we got 7.
What you do is you're like, deuces, I'm out.
Well, you're always like that, and then but the problem is like every time that you're like almost out like you're having a decent match, and you're just like, okay, well I'm gonna go loosen the dominate defense belt, sit over here, take out the camp chef, boil some water, and have a cup of noodle. And then when I'm sore because I've been standing all day waiting to shoot this match, I'll get up. And because we're all like 40 years old, our knees and our feet hurt again when we stand back up. And they're like, okay, now I'll shoot it with old man sore achy sat down body. I'll go do this. This is good. It's great.
Next question from Sean Edmonds. Watching this is Ben Barry's post on Facebook. He took a make ready command a half hour after sunset. Clearly that's a competitive equity problem, right? But do you as the shooter have the right to refuse a make ready command? Who makes the call? Where's the line drawn? Seems if they're pushing that hard to finish, you just end up with a 0 on the stage. But if you take the make ready command, you've accepted the stage as it is, correct?
Can we range lawyer this?
I've never shot nationals for the money because I'm never going to win nationals. But I mean, if the squad's shooting it, I would just shoot it. But if I was about to win, would I talk to the RO and have the range master come over and have a chat with them and ask about shooting it in the morning? Why not?
Well, I've only refused to shoot a stage once, and that's because it was unsafe until we changed the height of the targets because we were sending bullets like way up past the berm, the way it was structured up at LTD one time. And so it was like, that's different. But like, how many of us, even when the stage had been completely like messed up, have we gone like, I'm not shooting this. This is
I've done it.
This is a messed up. So like, then where does it go to from there?
I still ended up shooting the stage, mind you, but we as the squad actually did have that conversation. It was a local match stage and it was raining really, really bad, and it just destroyed the targets. They hadn't been taped properly. Plus, the stage itself was kind of bonkers. You were basically point shooting everything from like 1 foot away.
I think I remember that. And after like the second shooter, we just stopped taping.
Yeah,
we just basically wrote down everyone's time because there was no point.
Really bad.
There was no point in taping anything. The tape, there was nothing to stick to it.
Yeah,
except other wet tape.
That sounds fun.
Well, and the one thing too is like
sounds like the not a cop match 2 on Brown.
And by brown we mean the dirt underneath the target. The target. Yes. Just get it there.
By brown we mean the target, not the brown guys. Fool me once.
The one thing too is like, if it's at dark, this is not the last squad shooting on the last day, right? I mean, tell me like our match is set up in a way that like there is a tomorrow. It's like, well, tomorrow's just the words. Well, not anymore because we're not shooting this. Like it should be like, no one should be shooting on the last day in the pitch dark. And if there is a tomorrow, and God provides you with another one, just be like, I'm not shooting this. I'll shoot this tomorrow in the full light of the sun, and then don't accept it.
If the range master comes over and says you're going to shoot the stage, or you're going to take a 0, then you're
going
to make that decision for yourself.
Then you better shoot it. The problem is if you call for the range master to come over and talk about it, you're losing daylight.
You're losing daylight.
Like, it's
that
getting
is a
darker.
Good point. Every minute that you complain.
Well, aren't you committed at that time? At that point I'd be like, I'm not shooting this. Like, this is ridiculous. Could you arbitrate it with $100?
Okay, at that point, you put the actual weapon mount light on there versus your tungsten weapon mounted light, and you just rock the stage.
Yes, I like that answer best.
Yeah, that's yeah.
So this actually comes from nationals right now.
Somebody's trying to shoot it with their 60 lumen tungsten light.
Alabama has a state law that basically says that you can't shoot past a certain point in the day, and
that's
so
the dumbest thing ever. I love going up shooting in the dark.
Who doesn't? But apparently, like, they can't start shooting at 9 a.m. until 9 a.m. because of the law, and then it's a state law. Drew Coleman actually mentioned there's ways you can kind of get around it, but you just have to plan it out better. They had exactly. They had their one of two annual member meetings last night, and somebody I think it was actually Mason Lane who brought it up, and Jake Martins, he's like, yeah, dude, we're aware of it. We're as frustrated as you are. We tried to plan around it. It just, we obviously didn't get the planning, and so we're working on making that a little bit better. We're just trying to make it better, which, anybody who's ever ran a major match, I'm not sitting here trying to defend Martins, okay? I mean, there's all kinds of things that you can range lawyer and say that somebody did right or somebody did wrong, but everybody knows the second that the first shots are fired, things come up that in your perfectly laid plans of trying to build stages and figure out the flow, the match flow and everything, that sometimes just happen, and that sounds like what had happened here.
It's like the rain and the bagging the targets, or the sun comes up right when it's your turn to shoot and it's shining right over the berm, right into your eyes. Well, guess what? You're going to shoot it, because if you call the range master and say, hey, the sun's in my eyes, he's going to say, uh-huh.
So?
Yeah.
Make ready.
The one time I've tried to get a reshoot because it was too dark was at Hard as Hell this past year, and my squad shot the stage, and then we finally got to go, and it was past dusk by the time I shot. But I shot that entire stage, and then I find out that they're giving the guy who shot before me a reshoot. So I'm like, oh, well, might as well ask. So the next day I go and I do a reshoot on the stage, and it was infinitely worse because even though it was bright, the sun was directly in my eyes, and it was the long range stage where you're shooting at 200 to 600 yards. There's a 200-yard spinner, and it was just like this. It was funny because on camera they have
it's so bright.
This is so much worse.
It's so bright. You think you're shooting at an angel. The one thing too is what's the rule about discharging your flashlight in USPSA? So could it be so dark that you turn on your flashlight to shoot the stage and they give you a procedural for it?
No, you can shoot with the light on now.
Okay.
You used to couldn't.
Because there's a lot of videos of people shooting with their lights on.
Because remember, Bob Vogel had to fill his light with lead shot.
Yeah. Well, I think when Bob was doing it back with the limited days, there was a completely different issue than just trying to look cool and have a light on your gun. Or else, why would you use the Glock light that you can buy from? Oh wait, because the battery compartment's gigantic, and you can just put a slug of lead in there. That's right.
You can put 6 shot shells worth of lead in it.
Oh man.
Next question from JC. If Biden waved a wand and all your guns disappeared, but left in its place is a revolver and a PCC, which one do you take to your next competition?
The revolver.
I would take the revolver.
I would take the PCC. I'd absolutely take my 45 PCC all day. That's a great fun gun.
Well, at that point, I would be I'd only take the revolver because Biden just took all my guns, and I still want a concealed carry piece. So it's I would take the revolver.
Have you seen my PCC? I can conceal carry that. It's that time of year. Yeah. I can conceal carry an AR-15.
Well, and after yesterday, I saw the power of the revolver, and I haven't seen a PCC reach that kind of level. So if you get a 3-inch 44 Magnum, it'd be a little hard to conceal carry, but you got some steam coming down that pipe. That's for sure.
Yeah, but I got 30 rounds of 45 grain FU coming out of the 45 PCC.
I'll just use my little pocket rifle.
Hang on, guys.
Go! It breaks rocks. It can do labor for you. Jared? Your PCC, Jared?
I would choose, it would just depend on what gun. I mean, if it was a nice PCC, if it was
it's
MPX,
a Keltec PCC.
You get Keltec or High Point.
Effectively, it is a revolver.
Or a Keltec revolver.
Or you get the Nambua revolver that shoots from the bottom cylinder.
Ooh, the Chiappa.
The Chiappa Rhino, yes.
I'd 100% shoot the Chiappa Rhino.
Yeah.
100%.
All the right answers.
From Dave Blanton. Let's go, Brandon. Yes,
Let's
sir.
go, Brandon.
Yes, good sir. Let's go, Brandon. Let's see, and that is it.
Well, right on. I smell the pizza getting done. That's great. So thank you for listening, downloading, subscribing. Thanks for hitting us up on Telegram and asking us questions. Thanks to Steve Koski, Robert Wyatt, and Jared Stepp for joining us. Kenny's out having a great time. Just having a great time out of internet range. So for those guys, I'm Tom Nelson, bidding you peace, love, and soul as we depart into the open waters of the Sea of Life on a little tugboat we like to call the Paracast.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Good night, everybody.
Toot toot.
Toot toot. Love, love.